My daughter blamed me for her father leaving and treated me like garbage for 6 years. Then she finally met the man she idolized and learned why I never defended myself. My husband Ray left when our daughter Mia was 12 years old. He packed a suitcase one Saturday morning while I was at work and was gone by the time I came home. He left a note on the kitchen counter that said he needed to find himself. He did not say goodbye to Mia. He did not call her for 3 weeks. When he finally did call, he told her that leaving was the hardest thing he ever did, but that mommy made it impossible for him to stay. He said I was controlling and cold and never appreciated him. He said he tried so hard to make our family work, but I pushed him away. He said he hoped Mia would understand someday. Mia believed every word. She was 12 and her father was her hero. He coached her soccer team. He took her for ice cream every Sunday. He let her stay up late watching movies while I was the one enforcing bedtimes and homework rules. Of course she believed him. I was the strict parent and he was the fun one. I was the one who said no and he was the one who said yes. When he left, she decided it must be my fault, because her perfect father would never abandon her without a good reason. The first time Mia screamed at me was 2 months after Ray left. She said I drove him away. She said I was impossible to live with. She said she wished she could live with her dad instead of being stuck with me. I did not defend myself. I did not tell her the truth about why Ray left. I thought she was too young to know. I thought it would hurt her more to know the real story than to be angry at me. I thought I could handle her blame if it meant protecting her from the ugliness. That was my mistake. Mia's anger did not fade with time. It grew. By the time she was 14, she barely spoke to me except to criticize. She said I was a terrible cook. She said our house was embarrassing. She said her friends had better mothers who actually cared about their children. She compared me to Ray constantly, even though Ray only called once a month and canceled half his scheduled visits. She made excuses for him. She said he was busy building his new life. She said it was hard for him to see her because I made things difficult. She said everything was my fault. I worked 2 jobs to keep us in our house after Ray left. He was supposed to pay child support, but the checks came late or not at all. I did not take him to court because I did not want Mia to know her father was refusing to support her. I just worked more hours and cut more corners and pretended everything was fine. Mia did not notice. She only noticed that we could not afford the things her friends had. She only noticed that I was tired all the time. She only noticed that I was not as fun as the father who breezed into town twice a year with expensive gifts and empty promises. When Mia turned 16, Ray missed her birthday completely. He said something came up with work. He sent a card 3 weeks late with a $100 bill inside. Mia framed the card and put it on her dresser. She said at least he tried. She said I probably made him feel unwelcome. I did not say anything. When Mia graduated high school, Ray did not come to the ceremony. He said the flight was too expensive. He sent flowers that arrived the day after. Mia called him and talked for an hour about how much she missed him. She did not thank me for the party I threw her or the laptop I saved for 8 months to buy. She just talked about how sad it was that her dad could not be there. I did not say anything. Mia went to college 3 hours away. She called Ray every week. She called me once a month and only to ask for money. I sent what I could even when it meant skipping meals myself. I never told her that. She never asked. Then last year everything changed. Mia was 23 and engaged to a man named Oliver. She wanted a big wedding. She wanted Ray to walk her down the aisle. She called him to ask and he said he would be honored. She was so happy. She called me to tell me the news, and for the first time in years, she sounded like she actually wanted to talk to me. She said the wedding would be in October. She said Ray was coming from Arizona where he lived with his new wife. She said it was going to be perfect. 2 months before the wedding, Ray called Mia. He said he could not make it after all. I sit on my couch staring at my phone after Mia hangs up. Her excited voice about Ray walking her down the aisle still echoes in my head. 2 months before the wedding, and he just canceled with some excuse about work conflicts. I know exactly what comes next because I have lived this pattern for 11 years. Ray makes a promise. Mia gets excited. Ray breaks the promise. Mia makes excuses for him, and somehow it ends up being my fault. I set the phone down on the coffee table and stare at the blank TV screen. My reflection looks tired. I worked a double shift yesterday at the diner and my feet still hurt. I should eat something, but I just sit there waiting for the call I know is coming. 3 hours pass before my phone rings again. I see Mia's name on the screen and take a breath before answering. She is crying before I even say hello. The words come out between sobs about how Ray explained everything. He has an important business conference in Seattle that he cannot miss. His company is counting on him. She should understand how hard he works to build his career. I make neutral sounds while she talks. I learned years ago that arguing only makes things worse. She needs to work through this herself and arrive at the conclusion she always arrives at. I hear her voice shift from sad to defensive. She starts explaining why this makes sense, why Ray has good reasons, why it is actually not that bad. I stay quiet and let her convince herself. Then comes the part where she works up to blaming me. I can hear it building in her tone. She talks about how uncomfortable Ray feels at family events, how he never knows if I will make things weird, how the divorce was so hard on him and being around me brings up painful memories. I bite my tongue so hard I taste blood. The truth sits in my throat wanting to come out, but I swallow it down like I have done for 11 years. Telling her now would sound like revenge. It would sound like a bitter ex-wife trying to ruin her father. She finally says it directly. If I had not made things so difficult when they were married, Ray would not feel awkward about family events now. If I had been a better wife, he would not have left. If I could just be civil and welcoming, He would want to be part of these important moments. My jaw aches from clenching. I want to scream that Ray left because he got another woman pregnant, that he chose his affair and his new life over his 12-year-old daughter, that he blamed me to make himself feel better about abandoning his family. But I do not say any of that. I just tell her I am sorry she is hurting and that I love her. She makes a frustrated sound and hangs up. The next day my phone rings while I am restocking napkins at the diner. Oliver's name flashes on the screen. I step into the storage room to answer. He sounds exhausted in a way I have never heard before. He tells me Mia cried all night. She kept switching between defending Ray and planning an angry speech to confront him. She would say Ray was right to prioritize his career. Then 5 minutes later, she would be furious that he canceled. Oliver listened to her go in circles for hours. He finally got her to sleep around 4 in the morning. His voice drops lower and he asks me something quietly. He wants to know if there is something he should know about why Ray really left. Something that would help him understand why Mia gets so intense about this. Something that explains the pattern he has been watching. I lean against the metal shelving unit and close my eyes. This is the moment I have been dreading. Oliver is kind and smart, and he loves Mia. He deserves to know the truth. But I tell him the same thing I have told everyone for 11 years. Ray and I grew apart. We wanted different things. The marriage stopped working. Oliver is silent for a long moment. Then he says he respects my privacy, but he can see how much this pattern hurts Mia. He can see her making excuses for someone who keeps letting her down. He can see her attacking me when I have been the one showing up consistently. He suggests maybe it is time for some truths to come out before the wedding, before Mia builds her marriage on the same broken foundation. I tell him I will think about it and hang up before my voice cracks. I make an appointment with the therapist I saw years ago when Ray first left. Her office is in the same building with the same beige walls. She remembers me and asks what brings me back after so long. I explain the wedding situation. I tell her about Ray canceling and Mia blaming me and Oliver asking questions. I tell her I am questioning whether protecting Mia was worth 11 years of being her villain. The therapist leans forward and asks what I am afraid will happen if Mia learns the truth now. I realize I am terrified she will think I am lying to manipulate her before her wedding, that the truth coming from me will sound like a jealous ex-wife trying to ruin her father, that she will hate me even more for telling her now instead of years ago. The therapist nods slowly and suggests the truth might need to come from somewhere else. Someone Mia cannot accuse of having an agenda. I ask who that would even be, and she tells me to think about it. Saturday morning, I am making coffee when someone knocks on my door. I open it to find Mia standing there looking like she has not slept. She walks past me without asking and starts talking immediately. She lists everything I did wrong in the marriage. I was too controlling. I never appreciated Ray's efforts. I made him feel small and unimportant. I pushed him away with my coldness. She paces my small living room while the words pour out. This is why Ray cannot handle being around me. This is why he left. This is why he keeps his distance. I let her talk while I make coffee neither of us will drink. She winds down eventually and stands there breathing hard. I ask her one question. Does she really believe her father, who calls once a month and cancels half his visits, loves her as much as she loves him? She looks at me with such fury and pain that I almost take it back. Her face goes red and her hands shake. She says at least he tried until I made it impossible. At least he wanted to be part of her life before I drove him away. She grabs her purse and leaves without drinking the coffee. After Mia leaves, I stand in my quiet house for a long time. Then I go to my closet and pull out the box I have kept hidden on the top shelf for 11 years. I sit on my bedroom floor and open it. Bank statements showing Ray's child support payments. January late by 3 weeks. March only half the amount. May nothing at all. June a check that bounced. I kept every record. Birthday cards he sent weeks late with generic messages. The letter he left that morning that said much more than Mia knows. I pull it out and read his actual words. He blames me for his affair. Says I was cold and never gave him what he needed. Claims I drove him to find comfort elsewhere. Says he deserves happiness even if it means leaving his family. Says Mia will understand when she is older that sometimes people grow apart. Not one word of apology. Not one acknowledgement that he chose to cheat and leave. Just blame and excuses and justification. I have protected her from all of this. From knowing her father abandoned her for another woman's baby. From seeing how little he actually contributed financially. From reading his selfish words. I have been hated for 11 years to spare her this pain. But I am so tired of being the villain for his failures. I put my phone down and stare at the ceiling for a long time. My hands shake a little as I think about what I just did. Asking Mia that question felt like throwing a match into gasoline. I knew it would hurt her. But maybe she needed to hurt in the right way instead of the wrong way. Maybe she needed to question the story she has been telling herself for 11 years. My phone buzzes and I pick it up expecting Mia to call back screaming. Instead, it is Oliver. His text says Mia came home crying and will not talk to him. He asks if I am okay. I type back that I asked her a question she was not ready to answer. 3 dots appear and disappear several times before his response comes through. He says he loves Mia, but he is starting to see patterns that worry him. He says she makes excuses for people who hurt her and attacks people who show up consistently. He says he does not know how to help her see it. I stare at his message for a while before responding that I do not know either. I have been trying to figure that out for 11 years. He sends back a heart emoji and says he is here if I need to talk. I set my phone down and go to bed, but I do not sleep much. Sunday morning, I make coffee and sit at my kitchen table with my laptop and a stack of papers. I need to look at my finances because I know what is coming even if Mia does not realize it yet. Ray canceled, which means all those father of the bride expenses he was supposed to cover are now hanging in the air. Mia never asked me to contribute to the wedding because she assumed Ray would handle his part. I open my bank account and look at the number I have been slowly building for 2 years. I knew this would happen. I have known since the day Mia called to tell me she was engaged that Ray would find a way to back out. I pull out the wedding budget Mia sent me months ago when she was excited and wanted to share details. My eyes scan down to the items marked for Ray. Rehearsal dinner. Father-daughter dance song. His tuxedo rental. Walking her down the aisle costs nothing, but everything else adds up. I do math in my head, and then on paper, and then in a spreadsheet. If I take on the rehearsal dinner, I can still pay my mortgage. If I cover his tuxedo rental too, I will need to skip some bills. I sit there looking at numbers and feeling tired in my bones. Monday morning, my phone rings while I am getting ready for work. The caller ID says Greta Christensen, and I know this conversation is coming. Greta is the wedding planner Mia hired, and she is very organized and very persistent. I answer, and she greets me warmly before getting straight to business. She needs to know who is walking Mia down the aisle now that the father canceled. The processional order affects the entire ceremony flow, and the musicians need to know how many measures to play. She says this gently, like she is trying not to stress me out, but I can hear the urgency under her professional tone. I tell her I do not know yet. Mia has not decided. Greta pauses and then suggests very kindly that Mia needs to make a decision soon. We are 2 months out, and these details matter. I promise to talk to Mia about it, and Greta thanks me before hanging up. I sit on my bed holding my phone and wondering if Mia will ask me or if she will find someone else. Anyone else. That evening, my phone rings and Mia's name appears on the screen. I almost do not answer because I am scared of what she will say, but I pick up on the 4th ring and her voice is small and uncertain. She asks if I think she should call Ray one more time and ask him to reconsider. Or maybe she should just have Oliver's brother Cole walk her down the aisle instead. Cole is nice, and he offered when he heard Ray canceled. I close my eyes and hear how much she does not want to give up on her father doing this one thing. Every other milestone he missed, but this is her wedding. This is supposed to be the moment he shows up. I tell her she should do what feels right to her. The silence on the other end stretches out, and I can hear her breathing. She asks what I think Ray will say if she calls him. I could lie. I could say maybe he changed his mind. Instead, I am honest for once. I tell her I think he will apologize and promise to try, but something else will come up. I think he will make her feel guilty for asking and then cancel again 2 weeks before the wedding. She is quiet for so long, I think she hung up. Then she says, maybe I am right, but she needs to know for sure. She needs to hear him choose not to come. She needs to stop making excuses in her head. I tell her I understand, and we hang up without saying goodbye. 3 days go by, and I do not hear from Mia. I go to work and come home and try not to check my phone every 5 minutes. Thursday evening, she finally calls and tells me she is flying to Arizona to see Ray in person. She says she needs to look him in the eye and understand why he keeps doing this. Oliver is going with her, and they leave Friday morning. My stomach drops because I know exactly what will happen. Ray will be charming and apologetic. He will have good excuses, and Mia will want to believe him. She will come home convinced I was wrong, and he really does love her. I tell her to be safe, and she says she will call me when they get back. After we hang up, I text Oliver privately. I tell him to pay attention to Ray's actual life in Arizona, not just what he says. Oliver responds quickly that he has been thinking the same thing. He says 11 years of phone calls and canceled visits do not match someone who desperately wanted to be part of his daughter's life. He says he plans to keep his eyes open. Friday afternoon at work drags by like walking through mud. I keep checking my phone even though I know their flight does not land until evening. I imagine Mia and Oliver getting off the plane in Phoenix. I imagine Ray meeting them at the airport or maybe at his house. I wonder if he even cleaned his house or if Felicia, his wife, knows the whole story about why he left. I wonder if she knows about the child support he never paid on time. I wonder if Mia will finally see what I have protected her from all these years. Or maybe she will come home blaming me even more because Ray will spin everything to make himself look good. He is very good at that. He has had 11 years of practice. I leave work at 5 and drive home and try to distract myself with television, but nothing holds my attention. Saturday morning, I wake up to a text from Oliver. It came in at 7 a.m. and I must have been sleeping. The message has a photo attached. I open it and see a nice suburban house with a pool in the back and 2 new cars in the driveway. The landscaping looks professional and there is a fancy grill on the patio. Oliver's message says interesting lifestyle for someone who could never afford child support. I stare at the photo for a long time. Part of me feels vindicated because here is proof that Ray lied about money problems. But mostly I feel sick because Mia is seeing this too. She is seeing her father's comfortable life while I worked 2 jobs to keep us in our old house. While I sent her grocery money in college and skipped meals myself. While Ray's child support checks came late or not at all and I never told her. I text back that I see it and Oliver sends a thumbs up. The rest of the weekend passes with no call from Mia. Oliver sends brief updates like he promised. Friday dinner was tense. Ray made excuses about the wedding and work conflicts. Felicia seemed uncomfortable and barely talked. Saturday, they are meeting Ray's friends from his country club. Sunday, they are supposed to have brunch before flying home. Each update makes my stomach tighter. I imagine Mia surrounded by Ray's new life, seeing how easy everything is for him. How he has money for a pool and new cars, but never had money to visit his daughter. How he has time for country club friends, but not for her high school graduation. I wonder what excuses he is making. I wonder if she is believing them. Sunday afternoon, my phone rings and I see Mia's name on the screen. I answer and hear crying instead of words. The sound cuts through me because Mia does not cry like this. She has not cried to me since she was a little girl. I hear Oliver in the background asking if she wants him to talk instead. She makes a choking noise and manages to say she needs to come see me when they get home tonight. Her voice sounds broken in a way I have never heard before. I tell her I will be here and she hangs up without saying goodbye. I sit on my couch staring at my phone trying to imagine what happened in Arizona. Part of me hoped this would happen, but hearing her cry makes me feel sick. I clean my house even though it is already clean. I make coffee and pour it out. I sit and stand and walk around and check the clock every 5 minutes. The hours drag by like walking through mud. I keep thinking about what Ray might have said or done. I keep thinking about what Felicia might have told her. I wonder if Mia will hate me more now or if something shifted. At 9:45, I see headlights in my driveway. I open the door before they knock. Mia looks destroyed. Her face is red and swollen from crying and her eyes look empty. Oliver has his arm around her waist, holding her up like she might fall. He helps her inside and she walks to my couch and sits down staring at nothing. Oliver looks at me with an expression I cannot read. He says Ray's wife Felicia pulled Mia aside at brunch this morning and told her some things. He says Felicia felt guilty watching Ray lie to Mia's face all weekend. My stomach drops because I know what is coming. Mia sits perfectly still, not looking at either of us. Oliver sits in the chair across from her and I stay standing because I do not know what else to do. The silence stretches out until I think I might scream. Then Mia speaks in a flat voice that sounds nothing like her. She asks me if it is true that Ray left because he got his coworker pregnant. I feel the room tilt sideways. I never thought she would learn it this way. I never thought Felicia would be the one to tell her. I open my mouth but nothing comes out. Mia looks at me for the first time since she arrived, and I see something in her eyes that makes my chest hurt. I nod because I cannot make words work. She makes a sound like something inside her shattered. She asks why I never told her. Her voice breaks on the last word. I sit down on the couch but not too close because I do not know if she wants me near her. I explain that she was 12 years old and worshipped him. I thought the truth would destroy her. I thought letting her be angry at me was better than knowing her father abandoned her for another woman's baby. I thought I could handle her blame if it meant protecting her from that ugliness. Mia stares at me and whispers that I let her hate me for 11 years to protect him. Not to protect her. To protect him from her knowing what he really was. I start to say that is not how I saw it. But Oliver speaks up. He sits beside Mia and tells me what Felicia revealed. Ray's first affair baby is now 10 years old living in California. Ray pays support for that child reliably. He never misses a payment. Felicia is his third wife, not his second. There was another woman between me and Felicia that Mia never knew about. Ray told Felicia the same lies about me that he told Mia. He said I was controlling and cold. He said I pushed him away. Felicia believed him until this weekend when Ray canceled the wedding so easily. She started asking questions. She started noticing things that did not add up. She looked at Ray's bank statements and saw the California payments. She asked him about it and he said it was an old debt. But Felicia called the number on the bank transfer and a woman answered. A woman who said she was the mother of Ray's 10-year-old daughter. Felicia put it together and confronted Ray last night after Mia and Oliver went to bed. Ray admitted everything. He begged Felicia not to tell Mia. Felicia said she would not lie for him, not after watching him lie to his daughter's face all weekend. Mia asks how many times Ray could have told her the truth in 11 years. Her voice sounds hollow. I say every phone call, every canceled visit, every late birthday card. Every time she made excuses for him, he could have told her the truth. She asks why he kept lying. I finally say what I have known all along. Because the lie made him the victim and the hero instead of the man who abandoned his daughter. Because it was easier to blame me than to face what he did. Because he is a coward who would rather have her love based on lies than lose it by telling the truth. Mia looks at me with horror and recognition mixing in her eyes. She says she has spent 11 years making excuses for him. The missed calls, the forgotten promises, the late support checks I never told her about. She stops and her eyes go wide. She asks if I really worked 2 jobs because he was not paying what he owed. I nod and she covers her face with her hands. I get up and go to my bedroom closet. I pull out the box I have kept hidden for 11 years. I bring it to the living room and set it on the coffee table. Bank statements showing sporadic payments always late and often short. Cards sent weeks after birthdays and holidays. The letter Ray left that I never let Mia see. The real letter that blamed me for his affair. That said I was cold and controlling when I confronted him about getting someone pregnant. Records of every broken promise I documented but never showed her. Mia goes through the box with shaking hands. Oliver reads over her shoulder. She finds the letter Ray left on the kitchen counter that Saturday morning. She reads his actual words. Not the sanitized version he told her on the phone weeks later. She sees him blame me for his cheating. She sees him claim I drove him away. She sees him say he deserves happiness even if it means leaving his family. She reads it twice, then sets it down carefully like it might explode. She asks about specific memories. The times Ray canceled Christmas. The summer he promised to take her to Disney and never showed up. Her 16th birthday when he forgot completely. I tell her the truth about each one. The Christmas cancellations were because his affair baby's mother wanted him there and he chose that family. The Disney trip never happened because his new wife at the time did not want him taking Mia. The 16th birthday he forgot because he simply forgot. She was not his priority. She has never been his priority. He loved the idea of being her hero more than he loved actually being her father. Oliver keeps looking through the box while Mia sits frozen with that letter in her hands. He pulls out a folder of bank statements from my account during her college years. He studies them for a minute, then looks up at me with something like anger, mixed with sadness. He shows Mia the highlighted lines where I transferred money to her account every month. The amounts are small but consistent. $50 here, $75 there, $100 when I could manage it. Mia takes the statements and her hands start shaking as she reads through them. She flips to another page and sees Ray's child support payments listed in a different section. They stop completely halfway through her freshman year. No more payments after that, just my transfers every single month. She looks at me and her face crumples. She says she called Ray every single week during college complaining that I never gave her enough money. She told him I was being cheap and difficult. She said I did not care if she had to eat ramen every night or skip buying textbooks. She never knew I was sending her grocery money while skipping my own meals. She never knew Ray stopped paying what the court ordered him to pay. She never knew I was working overtime at both jobs just to send her $75 so she could go out with her friends on Friday nights. I tell her I did not want her to know because she had enough to worry about with school. She starts crying again, but this time it sounds different, deeper somehow. She says she has been so cruel to me. Every criticism about my cooking or my house or my clothes, every comparison to Ray and his nice cars and his expensive gifts, every time she chose his excuses over my presents, every time she made me feel small and unwanted in her life. I reach over and take her hand, even though part of me wants to pull away from the pain of remembering all those moments. I tell her I understood she needed to believe in him, that she needed one parent to be good and perfect in her mind, that I could handle being the bad parent if it meant she had someone to look up to, that I thought it was better for her to have one hero than to know both her parents failed her. Oliver sets down the papers he is holding and looks at both of us. He says very quietly that what I just described is not healthy for either of us, that Mia built her whole identity around having an amazing father who was kept away by a difficult mother, that her entire understanding of herself and her childhood was based on that story, and now that foundation is gone. He turns to me and says I built my identity around sacrificing everything, including my daughter's love, that I made myself smaller and smaller until I almost disappeared just so Ray could stay big in her eyes. He says we both need to figure out who we are with the truth instead of the lies. The room gets very quiet. I can hear the kitchen faucet dripping and a car driving past outside. Mia wipes her face with her sleeve and asks me if I am angry at her for how she treated me all these years. I think about that question for a long time before I answer. I tell her I am angry at Ray for putting us both in this position, for making me choose between protecting her and defending myself, for making her choose between believing in him and seeing reality. I tell her I am sad about the years we lost, the conversations we never had, the relationship we could have built if he had just told her the truth from the beginning. But I tell her I understand why a 12-year-old believed her father when he said I was the problem. I understand why she kept believing him even when the evidence showed otherwise. I am just so tired of carrying his secrets while he lives his comfortable life in Arizona with his new wife and his pool and his country club friends. Mia stands up suddenly and says she wants to call Ray right now. She wants to scream at him for what he did to both of us. She pulls out her phone and starts scrolling for his number. Oliver gently takes the phone from her hands. He says maybe she should wait until she processes more of this before making that call. He says angry calls rarely accomplish what we hope they will. They just give the other person ammunition to use against us later. Mia sinks back down onto the couch and says she does not know how to process any of this. Her entire understanding of her childhood was a lie. The parent she defended for 11 years was the villain. The parent she blamed for everything was actually the hero. How is she supposed to make sense of that? I tell her it is not that simple, that I made choices too. I chose silence over honesty even when that silence hurt us both. Ray is responsible for his actions, but I am responsible for mine. We both hurt her in different ways even if my intentions were protective. She needs to be angry at both of us, but for the right reasons, not the reasons Ray told her. Oliver shifts in his chair and asks some practical questions about the wedding. Does Mia still want Ray there at all? Who should walk her down the aisle now? How does she want to handle this publicly when people ask about her father? Mia looks at him like he just asked her to solve a complicated math problem. She says she cannot think about the wedding right now when her whole life just turned upside down. She says the wedding feels completely unimportant compared to everything she just learned. I look at the clock on the wall and realize it is almost midnight. They drove 3 hours to get here, and we have been sitting in this living room going through that box for hours. I suggest they stay here tonight instead of driving home this late while upset. I tell them they can have my room and I will take the couch. Mia looks relieved and nods. Oliver thanks me and helps Mia stand up. I show them to my bedroom and find clean towels in the hall closet. Before they close the door, Mia turns around and hugs me. It is the first time she has hugged me in years. She whispers that she is sorry. Her voice breaks on the words. I hold her tight and tell her we will figure this out together. That we have time now to build something real instead of something based on lies. She nods against my shoulder, then pulls away and goes into the bedroom with Oliver. I make up the couch with blankets and a pillow, but I do not sleep much. I keep thinking about that box and everything in it. All those years of evidence I kept hidden. All those years of letting Mia hate me so she could love him. I wonder if I made the right choice or if Oliver is right that I just made both of us smaller. Monday morning comes too early. I make coffee and find Mia already awake sitting at my kitchen table. She looks exhausted, like she did not sleep either. She says she needs to confront Ray, but she wants to do it right. Not just yelling and screaming, but actually holding him accountable for what he did. Oliver comes out of the bedroom and suggests she write down what she needs to say. That way, emotion will not derail the conversation. Mia nods and asks if I have paper and a pen. I offer to be there with her when she talks to Ray if she wants support. She looks at me with red eyes and says yes. She wants both Oliver and me there. Mia spends the entire day writing and rewriting what she wants to tell her father. She fills up pages with crossed-out words and rewritten sentences. She asks me questions about specific things Ray said or did over the years. She asks Oliver to read drafts and tell her if they sound too angry or not angry enough. By evening, she has something she thinks she can actually say. She shows me the letter even though she plans to call him instead of sending it. She asks if I think it is fair. I read through her words carefully. She does not call him names or make wild accusations. She just lists facts. The affair, the lies, the broken promises, the missed payments, the way he let her blame me for his choices. She asks him why he did it and tells him she deserves real answers. I tell her it is honest and that is what matters most. She decides to call him that evening with Oliver and me both there for support. Mia sits on my couch with her phone in her hand, and her face set in a way I have not seen before. Oliver stands behind her with his hands on her shoulders. She looks at me and asks if I am ready. I nod even though my heart is racing. She puts the phone on speaker and dials Ray's number. He answers on the second ring with his cheerful voice asking how his girl is doing. Mia does not let him finish the greeting. She tells him she knows about the affair and the baby he left us for. She knows he lied about why he left and blamed me for his choices. Ray goes quiet for a moment, then starts talking fast. He says it is complicated and he can explain everything. He says he was going to tell her when she was older, but the timing was never right. Mia cuts him off. She says she spent 11 years hating her mother because he told her I drove him away. She says she defended him every time he canceled plans or forgot important dates. She says she made excuses for him while he lived his comfortable life in Arizona. Ray tries to interrupt, but she talks over him. She tells him she is done making excuses and done believing his lies. Ray's voice changes and gets defensive. He says I must have poisoned her against him. He says I probably filled her head with stories to make him look bad. He asks what lies I told her to turn her against her own father. Mia laughs, but it sounds bitter and hurt at the same time. She says I never said one word against him in 11 years. Not when he missed her birthday. Not when child support came late or not at all. Not when he canceled Christmas visits. She says he did this to himself by lying and abandoning her while playing the victim. Oliver squeezes her shoulders and she takes a breath. She tells Ray about the box I kept hidden. The bank statements showing sporadic payments. The cards sent weeks late. The letter he left blaming me for his affair. She says I protected him for 11 years, and she hates that she wasted all that time defending someone who did not deserve it. Ray tries a different approach. His voice gets softer, and he says he always loved her. He says the affair was a mistake he regrets every day. He says he was trying to protect her from adult problems and complicated situations. He says leaving was the hardest thing he ever did. Mia's hands shake, but her voice stays steady. She tells him that protecting her would have been paying child support on time, so I did not have to work 2 jobs. It would have been showing up when he promised instead of canceling half his visits. It would have been being honest instead of letting her blame me for his failures. She says he did not protect her from anything. He protected himself and his reputation while she suffered. Ray starts to argue, but Mia talks over him again. She tells him he is not invited to the wedding anymore. He protests immediately. He says he is her father and he has a right to be there. He says she will regret this decision. He says she is being manipulated and emotional. Mia shakes her head even though he cannot see her. She says a father is someone who shows up consistently and keeps promises. He has been a voice on the phone making grand gestures and breaking commitments for 11 years. She needs people at her wedding who actually love her enough to be reliable. She needs people who have earned the right to celebrate with her. Ray's voice gets angry. He says she is ungrateful after everything he has done for her. He says I turned her into someone cold and unforgiving just like me. He says she will come crawling back when she realizes what she has done. Mia ends the call without responding. She drops the phone on the couch and her whole body starts shaking. Oliver moves around to sit beside her and pulls her into his arms. She collapses against him and starts crying. The sound is different from all the times she cried about Ray before. This time it sounds like grief instead of anger. Like she is mourning something she lost a long time ago, but only just realized was gone. I stand up and walk to the kitchen because I need to do something with my hands. I fill the kettle and put it on the stove. I find tea bags and mugs. I hear Mia crying in the living room and Oliver talking to her quietly. I grip the counter and try not to cry myself. The kettle whistles and I make 3 cups of tea even though I know none of us will drink them. When I come back to the living room, Mia has stopped crying, but her face is blotchy and her eyes are red. She looks at me and whispers that she is sorry. I sit down and tell her we will figure this out together. She nods and leans back against Oliver. We sit in silence for a long time. The next few days blur together. Mia stays at my house and we talk more honestly than we have in 11 years. She asks me questions about the marriage and I answer everything truthfully even when it hurts. She wants to know when the affair started and how I found out. She wants to know what Ray said when I confronted him and why I did not tell her sooner. I explained that she was 12 and her world was already falling apart. I thought the truth would destroy her completely. She sits at my kitchen table with tears running down her face and says she understands, but she wishes I had trusted her with the truth eventually. I tell her I was scared she would think I was lying to hurt Ray. She says she probably would have believed that, and we both sit with how sad that is. Oliver comes and goes. He has to work, but he calls Mia every few hours to check on her. He brings food because neither of us is eating much. He sits with us in the evenings and listens while Mia processes everything. He does not try to fix anything. He just listens and holds her hand. On Wednesday, Greta, the wedding planner, calls about the ceremony processional. She says she needs to finalize the order of events, and she still does not know who is walking Mia down the aisle. Mia looks at me across the kitchen table. She asks if I will do it. My eyes fill with tears immediately because I never let myself hope for that. I always assumed she would ask Ray or Oliver's brother or walk alone before she asked me. She says I am the parent who actually raised her. I am the one who showed up every single day even when she made it miserable. I am the one who worked 2 jobs and skipped meals and never said a bad word about her father. She says I am the one who should give her away. I tell Greta yes while crying so hard I can barely talk. After the call, Mia hugs me and we both cry together. Oliver's brother Cole calls later that day. Oliver told him what happened with Ray, and Cole wants to check on Mia. He offers to help with anything she needs. Mia thanks him but says she wants me walking her down the aisle. Cole says that is perfect, and he is glad she has her mom. The word mom said with actual affection instead of resentment makes me cry all over again. 2 weeks pass and Mia moves back to her apartment. She calls me every single day. Sometimes we talk about wedding plans, and sometimes we talk about the past. She apologizes constantly for how she treated me. I keep telling her we are moving forward now. Oliver texts me that he sees her processing the grief in healthier ways. She is in therapy and working through her anger at Ray and her guilt about me. On Saturday morning, Mia calls and asks if I want to help her shop for her wedding dress. She says she never invited me before because she assumed I would criticize everything or make it about myself. I tell her I would love to come. We spend the whole day at bridal shops trying on dresses. She asks my opinion on every single one and actually listens to what I say. She finds a dress she loves and asks me what I think. I tell her she looks beautiful, and she starts crying happy tears. The shop assistant takes our photo together and Mia posts it with a caption about her mom helping her find the perfect dress. I stare at my phone and the word mom and think about how impossible this moment seemed just a few weeks ago. It feels like a miracle. Ray's phone calls start 3 days after we find the dress. The first voicemail sounds sorry and sad. He says he misses Mia and wants to talk through everything calmly. He says he understands she is hurt, but cutting him out completely seems extreme. The second voicemail comes that same evening and his tone shifts. He says I clearly poisoned her against him after all these years. He says she is making a mistake listening to my lies. The third voicemail arrives the next morning and he is angry now. He says she will regret this when she realizes I manipulated everything. He says he is her real family and I am just trying to steal her away. Mia does not call him back, but she plays the messages for me while we sit at her kitchen table. She watches my face carefully like she is testing whether I will say I told you so. I just listen to Ray's voice cycling through emotions like he is reading from a script. When the messages end, Mia deletes them one by one. She says it is weird how clearly she can see the manipulation now. She says he does the same thing every time. Starts nice, gets accusatory, ends with guilt trips. She says she never noticed the pattern before because she was too busy making excuses for him. Oliver comes home from work and finds us still at the table. He kisses Mia's head and asks how her day was. She tells him about the voicemails and he just nods like he expected it. Later that evening after Mia goes to shower, Oliver asks if we can talk privately. We sit on their small balcony and he looks tired in a way I have not seen before. He tells me that watching Mia process everything has made him love her more, but also worry about her. He says he sees how deeply she believed the lies Ray told her. He says he sees how hard she fights against truths that hurt even when the evidence is right in front of her. He asks if I think she will be okay long term. I tell him she is stronger than both of us think. I tell him she spent 11 years building her identity around having an amazing father who was kept away by a difficult mother. That foundation crumbled in one weekend and she is still standing. I tell him she has him now and that makes all the difference. Oliver nods slowly and says he hopes I am right. He says he wants to protect her from more pain, but he knows she needs to work through this herself. 1 month before the wedding, Mia calls and asks if we can meet for coffee. She sounds nervous, which makes me nervous. We meet at a place near her apartment and she orders tea she does not drink. She finally asks if we can talk about what happens after the wedding. She says she wants a real relationship with me, but she does not know how to build one after so many years of anger and blame. She says her therapist is helping her work through the past, but she needs my help to figure out the future. I suggest we start small with regular phone calls even when nothing important is happening. I suggest honesty about feelings even when they are uncomfortable. I suggest patience with the process because neither of us will get it right immediately. Mia writes down everything I say in her phone like she is taking notes. She asks if I am willing to try even after how awful she was to me. I tell her I never stopped wanting a relationship with her. I just did not know how to have one when she hated me. She tears up and says she did not really hate me. She says she hated feeling abandoned by Ray, and it was easier to blame me than accept he chose to leave. She says therapy is helping her understand that, but it still hurts. The next week we visit the wedding venue together to finalize details. Mia introduces me to the florist and the caterer and the venue coordinator as her mom who is walking her down the aisle. Each person smiles and says how sweet that is. The caterer asks if we want matching flowers for our dresses. The venue coordinator asks if we need a special moment during the ceremony for just the two of us. Mia squeezes my hand under the table, and later when we are alone, she whispers that she wishes she had not wasted. So many years we could have had this. I squeeze back and tell her we cannot get those years back, but we can make the future different. She nods and says she is working on accepting that in therapy. She says her therapist told her she needs to mourn the father she thought she had before she can fully accept the reality of who he is. She says it is hard work grieving someone who is still alive. She says some days she wants to call Ray and pretend everything is fine just so she does not have to feel the loss. I tell her I understand that urge, but pretending will only delay the healing. She says she knows, and that is why she keeps deleting his voicemails without responding. 2 weeks before the wedding, Ray sends Mia a long email. She forwards it to me and asks what I think. The email is 6 paragraphs of apologies mixed with justifications. He says he is sorry for lying, but he did it because he loved her and wanted her to think well of him. He says being a good father was important to him even if he failed at actually doing it. He says he understands if she needs space, but he hopes she will let him attend the wedding even if he cannot walk her down the aisle. He says he wants to see her happy on her special day. He says he will sit in the back and leave right after the ceremony if that is what she wants. He says he just needs to be there. Mia calls me after I read it and asks what I think she should do. I tell her it is her wedding and her choice. I tell her I will support whatever she decides. She is quiet for a long time, then says she needs to think about it. 2 days later, she calls back and says no. She says she needs her wedding to be about people who show up consistently, not people who make grand gestures and empty promises. She says she wants to start her marriage surrounded by real love, not performances. She says having Ray there would mean spending the whole day managing his feelings and wondering if he will actually stay or leave early like he always does. She says she deserves better than that. I tell her I am proud of her for choosing what she needs instead of what Ray wants. She says it feels terrible and right at the same time. Wedding day arrives and I wake up more nervous than I have been in years. I keep checking my phone expecting some crisis or emergency. Mia calls at 8 in the morning and asks if I am awake. She sounds excited and scared. She asks if I am still okay with walking her down the aisle because she will understand if it feels like too much pressure. I tell her I am honored and I would not miss it. She laughs and says she cannot believe this is actually happening. Oliver texts me later that morning saying Mia is crying happy tears because everything is coming together. When I arrive at the venue, Mia is in her dress and she looks so beautiful I start crying immediately. She sees me and starts crying too, and her makeup artist yells at us both. Mia hugs me carefully so she does not wrinkle her dress. She whispers that she is glad I am the one walking her down the aisle because I am the one who earned it through years of showing up even when she made it miserable. The ceremony starts and I stand with Mia behind the closed doors. She is shaking and I am shaking, and we hold hands like we are both about to jump off a cliff. The doors open and music plays and we start walking. Everyone stands and turns to look. I see Oliver at the front and he is crying already. I see his family smiling at us. I see Mia's friends from college. I see my coworkers who came to support us. The officiant welcomes everyone and talks about love and commitment. Then she asks who gives this woman to be married. My voice shakes when I say I do, but I get the words out. Mia hugs me tight and whispers, "Thank you for everything." I sit in the front row and cry through the entire ceremony. I watch Mia and Oliver exchange vows and rings. I watch them kiss while everyone cheers. I watch my daughter marry a good man who loves her, and I feel grateful we made it here. At the reception, Mia and Oliver do their first dance, and then dinner is served. After everyone eats, Mia stands up with her glass. She thanks Oliver's parents for welcoming her into their family. She thanks Oliver's brother Cole for helping with wedding planning. Then she looks at me and says she needs to thank her mom. She says I taught her what real love looks like. She says real love is not grand promises, but consistent presence. She says real love is not easy affection, but hard choices to protect the people you care about. She says she is sorry it took her so long to see what I was doing all those years. She says she is grateful I never gave up on her even when she gave up on me. Everyone applauds and I cannot stop smiling even though I am crying again. Mia comes over and hugs me and whispers that she loves me. I whisper back that I love her too, and I always have. A week after the wedding, Mia and Oliver show up at my house with a bottle of wine and a homemade lasagna. Mia says she wanted to cook for me for once instead of always eating my food. I open the door and she hugs me without hesitation. No stiffness or obligation in it. Oliver hugs me too and says congratulations on making it through wedding season. We sit at my small kitchen table and Mia serves the lasagna while asking about my week at work. I tell her about a difficult customer and she actually listens, asks follow-up questions, laughs at the right parts. Oliver mentions their honeymoon plans for next month, a beach resort in Mexico they found on sale. Mia turns to me and asks if I have ever been to Mexico. I say no, and she looks sad for a second, like she is realizing how little she knows about my life. She asks what I do for fun now that she is not home anymore. I tell her about my book club and the yoga class I started taking on Saturdays. She smiles and says she is glad I have things for myself. Then she asks if I am dating anyone. The question catches me off guard because she has never asked about my personal life before. I say no, and she nods thoughtfully. She says I should try one of those dating apps because I deserve to have someone. Oliver agrees and offers to help me set up a profile. I laugh and say maybe someday, but right now I am just enjoying the quiet. Mia reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. She says she is sorry I spent so many years alone while she was being awful. I squeeze back and tell her we are past that now. After dinner, we move to the living room with our wine. Mia curls up on the couch next to Oliver and I sit in my chair. She gets quiet for a moment, then says she has been thinking about Ray a lot. Some days she wakes up angry and wants to call him and yell. Other days she just feels sad about all the years she wasted believing his lies. Some days she feels nothing at all, and that scares her more than the anger. I ask if she has talked to her therapist about it. She nods and says her therapist told her grief is not a straight line, that it is normal to cycle through different feelings. She looks at me and asks if I ever grieved the marriage or if I was just relieved when Ray left. I think about that for a long time before answering. I tell her it was both. I grieved what I hoped the marriage would be, the family I thought we were building. But I also felt relief to stop pretending everything was fine when it was not. Relief to stop making excuses for someone who did not respect me. She nods slowly and says that makes sense. She says she is grieving the father she thought she had, the relationship that never actually existed. Oliver puts his arm around her and she leans into him. Oliver mentions they have been looking at houses. He says the apartment is too small now that they are married and thinking about the future. Mia sits up straighter and says they want to find something closer to me. I feel my throat get tight and ask how much closer. She says maybe 20 minutes instead of 3 hours. She wants her future kids to actually know their grandmother, to grow up seeing what consistent love looks like instead of empty promises. She wants to build the family she thought she had, but with truth this time. I start crying and she moves over to hug me. She whispers that she wants her kids to have what she missed, a grandmother who shows up and stays. Oliver says they found a few places they like and asks if I want to come look at them next weekend. I say yes through my tears. Mia pulls back and wipes her eyes. She says she knows it will not fix the lost years, but they can make the future different. I tell her that is all I ever wanted. 2 months pass and Mia calls me on a random Tuesday afternoon. I answer expecting something important, but she just wants to talk about her day at work. She tells me about a meeting that ran too long and a coworker who keeps stealing her lunch from the break room fridge. Nothing urgent or significant, just sharing her life with me. We talk for 30 minutes about nothing and everything. After we hang up, I sit in my quiet house and feel something I have not felt in 11 years. Peace. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but peace. The anger is gone. The weight of secrets is gone. The fear that she will never forgive me is gone. We lost so much time to raise lies and my silence. Years we can never get back. But we have the future now, and it is built on truth instead of pretending. It is not perfect, and some scars will always hurt when I touch them. But we are finally moving forward together as mother and daughter. The relationship we are building now is real. It is messy and imperfect and still healing. But it is real. And that makes it worth every hard year that came before.